When the producers of this video asked me to introduce the work of Northwest Seventh-day Adventists, coordinated from the North Pacific Union Conference office, they said I'd have a small part to play. But I had no idea how small they could make me look on this desktop. Maybe I should consider starting a new career doing weight reduction commercials after I retire. Actually, I wanted to talk to you from a perspective of smallness and emphasize ways in which we can enlarge or magnify the vision that God has given us. Right now, if you lined up 142 typical Northwesterners, there would be only one Seventh-day Adventist. Now, that's better than almost anywhere, but is it enough? You fly over the Puget Sound area on a clear day, and you'll get a feel for the immensity of the task that is before us. At the rate we're going, can we really say that the work of God on this earth is almost done? If history has taught us one thing in the last 5 years, it is that our world is shrinking. And though at times it seems that in the Northwest we are small, there's more of us than ever before. The information superhighway has provided us with many new cost-efficient ways to stay in touch and even conduct the Lord's business. This is good because we got a big job in little time. In these moments preceding Christ's return, people's interest in end-time knowledge is multiplying, just as predicted in the book of Daniel. So now is not the time to hold back. The highest agenda of the North Pacific Union Conference office has been to magnify the vision and spirit of outreach. So now let's take a closer look at that uniquely Northwest vision that has developed during the past 5 years. Remember that our one goal from this office has been to magnify, to extend and enhance the vision of a soon-to-be finished work.
Amazing grace, how sweet.
5 years ago, church growth experts were saying public evangelism in North America was no longer effective, especially in unchurched areas such as the Northwest. Revival began when Northwesterners discovered the reflex reaction of evangelism. As soon as the Iron Curtain fell, Northwesterners dashed off to Russia to hold meetings, crusades, and to share the gospel of Christ's soon return. Inspired by how God blessed their efforts abroad, many returned home eager to try public evangelism in the Northwest.
We're talking about requests that have specific names, places, dates, evangelists, for a total of $620,000. Well, now that's quite a challenge. And I would hope this is not the last time we have this problem. And I can't think of any reason I'd rather give the local churches money than to do evangelism.
Across the Northwest, an outbreak of evangelistic efforts jump-started unprecedented growth, recaptured the attention of church growth experts, and ultimately revitalized and magnified the vision of what public evangelism is capable of accomplishing in North America. Over the past 5 years, Darlene Clark, who serves as Administrative Secretary for Dwayne McKee, Global Mission, Ministerial and Evangelism Director at the North Pacific Union Conference office in Portland, Oregon, has processed 811 visas for evangelistic team members destined for Russia.
Darlene kind of oversaw that.
In addition, she provides a high level of secretarial support to Monty Church, Director of Native Ministry Northwest, which encompasses Western Canada as well as the North Pacific Union Territory.
It's been amazing to watch the reflex influence. By that I mean to see how God has blessed individuals and local congregations and areas within the conference that have participated in foreign evangelism efforts. Take, for example, our Native American work in the Alaska Conference.
In the past 5 years, the Native American membership has tripled. It's interesting to note that the idea for Operation Bear Hug, a two-way evangelistic exchange of talent, culture, and resources between Northwest Adventists and their Russian relatives, began in part when the way opened for Native American Adventists in Alaska to travel to Russia in search of Yupik-speaking family members they'd lost contact with when the Iron Curtain clanged shut some 50 years ago. When stories of reunited Native hunters reached the Union office, Bruce Johnston began promoting foreign and local evangelistic opportunities, not as single, unsustainable events, but as an ongoing process of building new friendships and strengthening newfound associations.
Closer. There you go. That's good.
All right. This new definition and approach to evangelism called for a new kind of evangelist, regular Adventist people like my wife and me. Since Operation Bear Hug in cooperation with North Pacific Union Conference and the Euro-Asia Division began, I've been able to use my connections with the State Department to arrange and ship 34 containers of donated medical, agriculture, and food items to the former Soviet Union, worth between $8 to $10 million.
These items have opened the doors and have helped keep the doors open for the Adventist message in places we never could have gotten into otherwise.
Members of the Upper Columbia Conference raised funds and helped build a church in the Russian metropolis of Magadan.
Over $1 million has gone into the project now through the building and through the trips that people have made and the cost of materials and the evangelism and outreach and things like this. But it has not affected, in a negative way, the finances of the conference. In fact, it's just had the reverse effect.
Tithe giving in the Upper Columbia Conference following the Magadan project increased by 21%. At the same time, members increased their giving to world projects by $176,000. Gifts to other projects carried on by the North Pacific Union and the General Conference increased by $89,000. And the Alaska Conference, where the first Operation Bear Hug participation occurred, has experienced a membership growth of 53%. In all, Northwest efforts have led more than 7,000 Russians into the fellowship of the Adventist Church.
During this last quinquennium, our membership grew by 11%. 13 new churches were established and 13 additional companies of believers have formed.
Our record of evangelistic successes have captured the attention of Adventists across North America.
Realizing that process-oriented public evangelism was anything but dead, the General Conference introduced Hands Across the World, an international assortment of global mission projects modeled after the success of Operation Bear Hug.
As preparatory and follow-up plans for Net 95, the church's first satellite distributed evangelistic series were being made, 3 North Pacific Union Conference employees, Bruce Johnston, Dwayne McKee, and Roscoe Howard, accompanied by Hector Muzan, Stewardship Director from the Washington Conference, led a Northwest evangelistic team to Africa, where round-robin crusades resulted in 420 baptisms in Harare, Zimbabwe.
One of the first things I noticed was how much the ministers had to do with so little.
When Roscoe Howard, assistant to the Union President for Regional Affairs, told attendees at the 19th Annual Black Convocation how much African members needed basic farm equipment, gas generators, and how African pastors had to rely on public transportation to visit scattered members, items and funds began pouring into the Union's Global Mission Office and warehouse.
I had no idea how much the Adventist Church would need my skills as a motorcycle mechanic.
Meet Dave Shanko, who joined the Cottage Grove, Oregon Church shortly after Net 95.
Really, I was kind of wondering what I would be able to do with the church or what I could do for them and for the Lord. And it turns out that my talents were actually needed.
The first one's running.
All right.
Dave spent well over a month overhauling, refurbishing, and helping Dwayne McKee deliver 14 assorted makes and models of motorbikes Northwesterners donated to a very grateful group of African pastors.
Gentlemen, start your motors.
And since I have a shop here, I can buy parts at cost. I was able to save that much money and, give the parts to the church at cost. And it just showed to me how the Lord was able to magnify the money. I was always curious as to how that would happen. How could the Lord take $1 and make it $2, or $1.50? And I found out that's how He does it, with people just taking care of Him.
Don Gray, Net 96 coordinator for the North American Division, and his crew of volunteers report that 164 Northwest churches, nearly double the number that participated in Net 95, will be satellite downlink sites for the Net 96 evangelistic meetings, which will begin October 5.
Net 96 is not just an event, it's actually a process by which we challenge all of our members everywhere to become involved in reaching out to others and introducing them to the wonderful message that Seventh-day Adventists have to share. And what you see us doing here in the basement of the North Pacific Union Conference Office is part of that process. We're getting ready to send out material that will help the 2,000 churches in North America get ready to reach out to their neighbors and friends and help those people come to the meetings so that they can make a decision for Jesus Christ.
Inviting a speaker evangelist to conduct a local series in the Northwest just became more affordable. The North Pacific Union Conference recently hired, in conjunction with several local conferences, 3 new evangelists, Lyle Albrecht, Ron Halverson, and Stephen Lewis. Unlike the past, where churches were responsible for paying the visiting evangelist's salary and expenses, these top-notch evangelists are available to churches who need only to advertise the event.
Eliseo Brezinio, our Hispanic Ministries coordinator and evangelist, who has introduced our conferences and churches to a novel outreach approach, which calls for existing Hispanic congregations to divide so they can sprout and grow again in new areas, reports success. This year, Hispanic laymen and pastors are in the process of conducting a total of 20 10-day mini evangelistic crusades.
This energetic marathon approach to evangelism has just about doubled Hispanic membership, which now stands near the 4,000 mark. Hispanic tithing has tripled from what it was 5 years ago, surpassing $1 million. African American membership grew from 1,600 to nearly 2,000. And Korean American membership rose to nearly 900, making it the 3rd largest Seventh-day Adventist ethnic group in the Union. Other sizable Asian American groups include the Vietnamese, Filipino, Japanese, and Samoan congregations. Besides re-magnifying the vision of evangelism, the North Pacific Union Conference Office offers many essential services members and conferences rely on.
It also serves as a physical center for networking and a place where church-related business is conducted. An Adventist curriculum, educational resources, textbooks, and new outreach tools are developed.
Much visionary work has been done to portray the gospel in cultural terms Native Americans can appreciate. These highly effective tools are now being used inside as well as outside our union.
Unlike the past, almost 100% of the services North Pacific Union Conference employees provide are not duplicated at other levels of the church.
Under Bruce Johnston's leadership as union president, the number of full-time employees at the union office has shrunk from 56 to 39 full-time positions without jeopardizing the integrity of the conference-requested services this office is called upon to provide.
Vital programs like home health education services, our literature evangelist ministry, and functions such as local youth activities, family life programming, singles, prison, and personal ministries, and many of the health and temperance programs, which were once aggressively staffed at the union level, have been strategically realigned and placed along with women's ministries, closer to where the action is, at significant savings.
The Gleaner is the oldest and most visible unifying publication or service members readily recognize as coming from the union.
Thank you.
But it by no means is the only one. The communication department's highly talented, ever-busy staff produce startling video reports, promote the development and establishment of Northwest Adventist-owned and operated television and radio stations, and serve as spokespersons and informational sources when public relation crises arise.
Information System Services personnel who provide user support throughout the Union, including local conferences like Upper Columbia, work closely with the North American Division Technical Standards Committee on big jobs like updating the general ledger, accounting, and payroll software systems, which 4 of our local conferences are using. In addition, the department creates labels for evangelistic handbills, mail-outs, and the Gleaner.
One of the projects we're working on in the Information Systems Department this year is revamping of our membership system. Our current system has been in operation for 24 years, and with our expanded membership of over 78,000 in this union, we are adding things like email addresses, multiple telephone numbers, and membership on committees in the local church and the local conference as part of the overall system.
The North Pacific Union Conference Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department is the only union in North America, so far as I know, that has government relations representatives based in each state. In a moment, you'll meet Dan McCulloch, my Oregon counterpart, who closely follows state legislation, works with the Religious Liberty Northwest and union staff members to amend, stop bills, and inform senators and state representatives of possible language that may infringe upon our church's ability to freely carry out its mission.
The 1991 Oregon State Legislative Assembly passed the Education Reform Bill. It was scheduled to be implemented in the fall of 1995. It contained language that inadvertently affected private schools. That was language that would not make it possible for instance, a graduating senior from Milo Academy to be able to use his diploma to enter into, say, Portland State College. I was able to pass a bill through the House of Representatives and on to the Senate and pass unanimously in the Senate to free us from the language that affected us.
We're here today with the Governor's Commission on Senior Services touring the Willamette Lane Senior Center in Springfield, Oregon. We have 3 Adventist legislators in the Northwest, Milton Earhart in Idaho, myself in Oregon, and Cedric Hayden also in the Oregon House. It's given us opportunities to work in the legislature to maintain our religious liberty and to make sure that the relationship between church and state stays at its proper place.
Shirlene Stahl is a favorite case of ours in prevailing with her employer, bank in Hermiston, Oregon. Shirlene not only saved her job, she got a better job, and she witnessed positively for the church, for her Lord, and for freedom. It was a win-win situation for her and for the bank because they retained a very good employee that they were about to let go simply because she was unable to work on the hours of her Sabbath.
We rely on funds that come to us through the Religious Liberty Campaign and not tithe dollars in order to maintain our freedoms.
In 1995, the Department of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty helped 32 people with major cases like Shirlene's and 57 people with minor cases, one of which is still pending. That's a total of 99 people helped by the Department of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty.
Few members realize how much the Union Treasury Department magnifies the vision of what we would like to see accomplished in this territory. You know, the reallocation of resources is one of the most significant reasons why we have unions and divisions and conferences, because we believe that the Gospel Commission is to go to all the ranchers, the people in the small communities, and throughout the whole world.
New members really add spark to the church. They have friends and family members who are interested in them and interested in what they've discovered, and they're not afraid to invite them to an evangelistic event. I truly believe that evangelism is the best investment that we can make with our money. I mean, where else could you put your money and get a 10% return? Evangelism continues to be the answer to our financial need.
I really appreciate how the North Pacific Union Conference officers actively support and participate in ASI. Together we are building Northwest partnerships with mission-minded business people who independently own and operate industries.
Relocating the literature evangelism program to Pacific Press was a brilliant move in many ways. A lot has been gained by having the people who are selling the books working out of the same offices where the materials are being published.
Vacant office space created by downsizing and the relocation of our literature evangelist program to Pacific Press has been leased to Portland Adventist Medical Center.
Portland Adventist Home Care, this is Cheryl.
You know, today we live in a time where the historical teachings of our church regarding health and wellness have become well accepted. Our church leaders, including the union conference officers, have proven to be a valuable resource through the years. They've been involved on our boards and many times made themselves available for advice. We're truly proud to be sponsored by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In the past year, the name Adventist Health was chosen as a family brand for all of our hospitals on the West Coast.
In addition, 7 General Conference auditors work out of the union office, and so does David Johns, an employee of the Adventist Media Center, who is using the latest computer and scanning technology to create multimedia graphics that will be used for Net 96 and Net 98.
If you haven't seen your trust department, I think you should, because they have so many different plans for many different situations to not only help yourself, to help the church.
As Director of Plan Giving at Walla Walla College, I know that we would not be able to help as many individuals support the needs of Christian education without the services that the Union Trust Department provides. We, like the local conferences, rely heavily on legal counsel, investment management, and accounting services that are efficiently consolidated at the Union office.
The Union K-12 Board of Education recently eliminated the quota of Adventist to non-Adventist students in NPUC schools. This enabled church schools to truly become outreach centers for community evangelism.
Under previous requirements, the Libby, Montana Adventist Elementary School, which only had 3 potential Adventist students in 1993, would have been forced to close. Instead, something very different happened.
I have customers that come in and I have them ask about my children, and I tell them I have 2 daughters that are attending the Libby Seventh-day Adventist School, and what a blessing it's been the last couple of years and how it's grown.
We have actively pursued non-Adventist students in this community to teach them and give them the opportunity to have a Christ-centered education. The way that we do this is uphold our Adventist beliefs, which are biblically based, to a high standard which we require and ask all people to meet, but not to conform to.
I currently attend the Foursquare Church. There's 4 other families in our church that also have children in the school, and 5 other churches besides the Seventh-day Adventists involved in the school, which is a witness to the community that the Christian families that aren't in the same church can come together and concentrate on our children, and what's important is their education.
Our Adventist kids are able to prove to others that our beliefs are biblically based, and the others, it might put question in their mind, hey, maybe our beliefs aren't so truly founded, but it makes our Adventist kids, even though they're a smaller percentage than the non-Adventists in our classroom, it makes them stronger.
Following a recent evangelistic crusade in Libby, Montana, 13 people were baptized, and 9 of these became Adventists due to their connection as either parents or students of the Libby Adventist Elementary School.
The Union Education Department sets aside money to help keep Christian education affordable for children of new converts, as well as in remote parts of the Northwest.
The North Pacific Union Conference is the only conference in the North American Division that gives a remote and necessary subsidy to help our small schools.
There are quite a few folks that tell us from time to time that maybe we could save a lot of money by doing away with unions. But we have a great concern in education because the union ties our conferences together, provides so many services that we just feel like we couldn't get along without. For instance, accreditation of our academies especially, policy development. They're a great resource when it comes to looking for personnel, especially in the areas of administration.
Being the teacher of grades 1 through 8, I have special needs and insights as to what kind of a curriculum will work in this setting. I appreciate not only the professional enrichment the union provides, but the opportunities it gives me to contribute in the development of the Adventist textbooks.
A reflex action of yet another kind is occurring. Never before have we seen so many young people spending so much time serving others, not only in remote areas with little official Seventh-day Adventist mission work, such as Nepal, Nicaragua, Vietnam, and Thailand, but right here at home. In several parts of our union, academy, and college-aged young people have been going door to door and holding Revelation seminars each summer, resulting in a significant number of baptisms.
They're pushing us because they want to become involved. And I think as administrators, as church leaders, as church workers, we need to afford them every opportunity to become involved in community service.
All the children of the world, red and yellow, black and white, all are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world.
Maybe we should launch Operation Ask Your Neighbor. Ask them if they know Jesus.
Ask them if they have a Bible.
Ask them if they're ready for Jesus to come.
Jesus loves the older folks like you.
How are they going to get to heaven if we don't tell them?
Jesus loves the older folks like you. Older folks like you. Jesus loves them too. Jesus loves the older folks like you.
I think Jesus is coming really soon. I don't care if He comes tomorrow. I don't want to get married anyway.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Ready or not, here I come! Evangelism is like eternal hide and go seek. You get found and then it's your turn to go looking.